Well, hello and welcome to Conversations with Star Seeds, Way Showers, Earth Angels, where we talk about spiritual things. And today we have a focus on energy healing and different modalities. So today I have Michael, Mathieu, and Christina Doughty. And I met Christina about a little over a year ago, and we've, shared a lot of interesting um, processes together. And I met Michael recently in a quantum flow class. And so when the three of us were together in a little breakout session, I had the idea we should really talk about energy work and different things that work um, and the people we serve. And so I will begin with Michael. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Excuse me. Hi, everybody. So Michael Mathieu. I live in Boulder, Colorado. I mostly grew up in Maine, um, and in college I went to school for electrical engineering. So I was a real kind of blockhead um, with uh, with math and science, and I worked for Eastman Kodak for 5 years back when they were a strong company, Um, but early on, um, I was all of like 24. I My low back went out for the first time ever, and it just rocked my world. And that got me into exploring a lot of different things, from chiropractic to nutrition, and then eventually I went through a series of body work called Rolfing and Rolfing structural integration, and that really spoke to me. And then after 5 years at Kodak, I quit and I came to Boulder, Colorado to learn how to become a rolfer, and then um, and that just opened up the world to all kinds of other things. And I would say I was a mediocre rolfer, but then I got introduced to work that was mostly developed initially by a French osteopath named Jean-Pierre Barral, and eventually he founded what's called the Barral Institute. And he figured out that you could work on pretty much everything. One of the things I learned is you can work on organs, and we call that visceral manipulation. And but then he also started in bringing in pieces of you can work on nerves, and you can work on arteries and veins, and you can work not only on the cranium, but you can work on everything that's inside. And so that when I started learning that work, the quality of my work just went through the roof. I started being able to get to things that I never was touching before, and then to make a long story short, 12 years ago I crashed on my mountain bike and broke my neck and severed my spinal cord almost completely at C45, and making me quadriplegic. So here I am in my power wheelchair. And so I was at a choice point 12 years ago. I either learned a new career, which didn't excite me at all, or I figure out how to do my work both energetically and then eventually long distance, which I was pretty clueless at first, but I had, huge motivation because at that point I had almost 20 years invested in doing body work, but it was all hands on. I always respected people who did energetic work, but I just never felt like I had the chops for it. And so I played around with it a few times and kind of let it go. But with no other option going forward, then that really focused me. And I started developing my work. And what's interesting is initially doing it in person with like maybe one hand on somebody, um, that was the hard part. Both being able to perceive, well, actually, perceiving was pretty easy. It wasn't any different. I thought I had to have sensation in my hands for me to perceive what I was feeling in somebody's body, but I immediately found out that wasn't the case. I could put a hand on them and that helped direct my focus. But I guess it's in my body field is where I'm able to discern where people need work. So in some ways, I kind of ask their body, where you'd like me to work on, and then pretty quickly into that exploration, I started noticing I was picking up things in people's body field. So, like for example, I had a friend who was rear-ended by a truck and had some real bad neck and low back issues, and um, I was trying to work on her up close, and nothing was happening. And eventually, I was like, okay, I need to recalibrate. Something's not right here. Um, I, so I just kind of backed off, actually, positionally, and I ended up moving back about 12 feet away from her. And I felt the edge of what I would call a projection in her backspace. And my best guess is it was an energetic field the body put up to protect her the from the truck. And I think just like in a lot of other cases when we get injured, making little adjustments here. Thanks, honey. How did I want to say that? I think, our bodies are so incredibly self-corrective that, most people have an injury and their body figures it out. And then there's those cases where it's too complex, too much initial impact, or, the surgery caused all kinds of adhesions. They need some kind of intervention to help. And anyway, and what I started, it became still something I feel like is a baby of mine, where sometimes I have to meet that I call it a distortion in their body field. Okay. Because normally, 3-4 feet off the body is kind of what you feel for an energy field, or what I feel. I'll say it that way. But in this case, this woman's body field was normal, except in the back where the truck hit. And so I just had to meet that and hang out. And then eventually I could move in 2 feet. And then there was the next boundary. And she was so sensitive. It was the perfect person, because she's one of the most sensitive people I know. So she was able to give me great feedback. And eventually the field normalized. It probably took 30 minutes. But then when I put a hand on her, everything shifted.
Good.
And I've heard that kind of story from other body workers that, and we even talk about, you hear people talk about it. Well, whatever that, belief or other kind of pattern that people have in their lives, a lot of times it manifests in the field first. And nothing in the physical body will change until you shift what's in the field.
Right.
So anyway.
And when you say field, are you speaking of the auric field around the body?
Yeah, I would call it electromagnetic field, but
okay,
auric field
good,
works for me.
Good.
Auric field works for me too.
Okay.
And I have different ways that I perceive it. But on some simple level, for me, it kind of one of my things I feel like I've learned over 3 decades is sometimes it just feels like a body needs to be acknowledged.
Yes.
And sometimes the body wants us to know details about what exactly had happened. And it's funny, I get emotional about this. Mm-hmm. I think other times the body's just like, oh my God, somebody's listening to me. Thank you. And now I can change. I just needed that acknowledgement. And, and sometimes it's a lot more complicated than that, but sometimes it's that simple. And so it's finding the right way of meeting the body in the right way. And then, about 8 years ago, I started playing around with doing the work long distance. And for me, I just got people up on Zoom. I close my eyes and I imagine I can feel them. and that's worked really well for me. And I imagine they're in the room with me. And that part was easy compared to figuring out how to do it all energetically.
Yeah.
So sometimes my work is highly anatomical. I might be working on a strain where the ureter connects to the kidney. Sometimes I have to get very detailed inside somebody's brain because there's trauma there from, impact to the head or whiplash. And then other times I'm doing this airy fairy work out in the field. And sometimes when the trauma is huge, I found I have to get super big, like maybe out to the moon. Sometimes sometimes out to Jupiter before it feels like I'm holding the entirety of this person.
Oh.
And so again, it's meeting the person in the right way. And so anyway, I hope that wasn't too long. That's kind of a nutshell
no,
of
that
what
was
I'm looking at.
perfect. And you could. How is it best that they can connect with you through your website?
Yeah, that's the best way.
Okay, and that is, can you tell them how to
Sure.
find it?
Yeah, www.michael, Michael, Mathieu, the French way, Mathieu.com.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And I shared the screen. Can you see it?
Nope.
Okay, it's not sharing this time. All right. It's only showing that. Okay. There it is. Is it showing now? Or not? Stop share.
I see it on your screen.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay. I just wanted to share that. So, so you really focus on body work, and there's some testimonials, and that's the website. So I put that up.
Yeah, and that said, with the the work that the three of us are involved with together, it kind of has given me some space to play with my work a little differently. So, with my engineering background, part of me loves to be a mechanic and a fix-it kind of person. But in more of a bigger picture spiritual world, I really can't heal anything in somebody else. So at best I can be a guide or a mirror for them. So and Christina and I have been playing together, and so my work is starting to open up into different avenues where I'll even, if somebody has experience with oh God, why am I forgetting the name of it? Somatic experiencing work, which my wife is studying right now. I've talked with other practitioners of that work, and I think the way my work is morphing into holding people in bigger ways, and also I tend to be very empathetic, so I'm often aware of emotional holdings in the body. Um, you know, my work is in some ways heading that direction.
Okay.
And I'm not going to pretend in any way I have studied as deeply that kind of work, but meeting people from a trauma place where I'm holding a lot more than just the physical trauma in their body.
Right.
I'm holding emotional, spiritual, the whole gamut, and that's kind of part of my learning curve right now, is opening more and more to those aspects.
Yeah. And I think once people are on the spiritual path, or they're working toward a goal, it's like giving your body permission to go ahead and heal. But it is. I've seen a lot of success with energy healers, and I have a lot of friends that do it. So, Christina, I'd like for you to share a little too, because I know a little bit about you. I know you're a coach and spiritual teacher. So tell us a little bit more about you.
Yeah. So, well, I've been doing spiritual studies for the past decade, and really have dedicated myself to the work, I would say, over the past 5 years or so. And it's been a lot, with the the teachings of Joshua, and I find that like a lot of the work that I do is a lot of the inner work, and I find that like I'm highly empathic, and so as I've kind of evolved doing a lot of my own inner work, I can now kind of guide sessions with other people and really kind of tune into the energy and the emotional body of those that I'm working with and kind of be able to hone in what's going on internally on a really kind of deep level and like kind of get to more of the core of what creates a lot of challenges or issues in their life and just kind of like help to uncover what it is that is essentially creating what it is that they're struggling with and then kind of bring it to the light, help shift it and kind of bring it to a higher perspective and bring more clarity so they can start to act and take different actions that are more in alignment with like who they truly are. And as I've also been doing this work, I've been finding, especially like working with Michael too, over, gosh, I don't know how long it's been, 6 months or a year, something like that now. Um, I've been finding that like dropping into the body and being able to really feel the emotions and like tune into the emotional body has also been like a really important piece in healing as well. And like I had a back injury that occurred about 2 years ago, and really kind of helped put me on my path and start to see that how highly empathic I am, and that the pain in the body was like an energetic kind of emotional body in itself. And as I've started to like tune into um where the body like the injury is in the body, I can start to sense the energetic field and the emotional piece that's in it as well. And I feel that I've been learning how to tune into that more so that that energy can start to shift and heal. And I feel that, and working with Michael has really helped me to kind of fine tune those abilities as well. And he's really guided he's really guided our sessions a lot. And the, so not like he's done a lot of anatomical work on me, and I've actually have felt the shift in my body from it, but he's also done kind of more emotional, energetic healing too, where there's like memories from the past of like my childhood that come up that are needing that kind of love and acknowledgement and presence so that the energy within my body can start to shift and change even more so because it's the pattern um that is like being recognized or acknowledged, kind of what Michael said. And
Mhm.
so I've definitely been being able to kind of tune into the healing abilities that it comes when it comes to the energetic and empathic awareness has definitely also been like a part of my practice that I've been implementing too. And Michael's been a great um, mentor in a sense when it comes
Oh,
to that.
awesome. You also have a background in psychology and uh, medicine, master's in
Yeah, so I do.
nursing.
Yeah, I have a bachelor's degree in psychology and social behavior, and I have a master's degree in physician assistant studies. So I do have a medical background, and I did work. Um, I did that for about 5 years, and found for me personally that the traditional medicine route wasn't the full scope of healing,
Ah,
and I ended up leaving that career about a decade ago, which really was a catalyst for me and really diving more into like the spiritual studies and starting to understand more of the spiritual aspect when it comes to our human existence and finding that like I feel like when it comes to true healing, there's the spiritual piece is also really important when it comes to the physical healing. And so I felt that Western medicine had some shortcomings in that sense where it was just solely focused on the physical when there's such a greater aspect to healing as because we're like these multidimensional human beings and we
right.
have more than just the physical body, there's like, the emotional, energetic, the spiritual. And so I've definitely been down, I feel that my true path is a healer. Um, that and then going, which is why I chose Western medicine in my early years. Um, but I found that like as I've kind of started to venture to look at the bigger picture when it comes to healing and started studying all this, the spiritual studies over this past 10 years, there's more, I see how it's more encompassing. And um, Western medicine definitely has its role in the world, but I felt that there's a bigger picture to true healing for us as humans. And so yeah, so I've definitely have been on the healer's path for many, many years.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I just wanted you to kind of emphasize that a little bit. So, in the quantum flow class, it was interesting because, our limitations, our fears are the things that we work on to reduce. And then, getting into the flow is more in the love, neutrality, acceptance, living in joy, enjoying life, and allowing the path to unfold in perfection. Like both of you and I have a background in social work, so I've always been a healing or an uplifter of others because as I was working in social work, that was the primary goal is to uplift and serve families. And then I have a degree in communication, so it was all about family dynamics and communication. And then when I retired, I got into angelic healing, and I studied. I went to New Mexico, and it's about the energy body, about working with sacred geometry, in sound and energy, and that that I did that in 2016, and then as I moved on, I got more interested in sound. Um, Started using things like light language, doing activations. But as I tune into people, I often feel their feelings, and I can, I do communicate with people through Zoom, but my favorite is hands-on healing and activations, and I get visual messages, um, visions, maybe messages for people, um, but it has morphed into like a council of angels who actually work with me. So it's a lot of times it's Metatron and Michael, and it's about ascension and energy and emotional healing and celestial codes. Like I use crystals and I use like sound and light language. And it actually can help people remove some of their fears and reset their energy centers. But I studied Kabbalistic, so it's actually the archangels on the tree of life, and there are different energy centers all over the body. And as I began to do that, and I've done hundreds of them now, I could see how people would shift sometimes overnight their beliefs. So anyway, I know Christina, you've been in person. It's it's sound, it's chanting, but I was studying because I really got into it because I was having panic attacks, and so it was a lot of changes in my body, and I just couldn't get to a neutral state. And that's what led me on the spiritual path too. There were a lot of things going on in my life, and but a lot of it was emotional with me. So that's what I studied. So these are three different systems, three different ways of thinking. But yes, we're multidimensional, and we're able to work with ourselves and work with others. And first we learn, and then we move on, and we keep expanding. So each new tool, like Reiki, breath work, and I've tried everything. I don't know why, but I love to try new things. I'm like Mikey. I've tried it all.
Yeah.
But it develops a skill base for you to flow more energy and love in your life, and and service to others. So all three of us are that. So what, Christina, I did not ask, what's the best way to contact you, on Facebook or Instagram or?
Facebook and Instagram is where I'm at. Yeah, you can just Google my name, Christina Doughty.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
And spell that out for everyone.
yeah, well, Christina is the CH, so Christina, and my last name is Doughty, Doughty.
Okay. All right. Good. And I have a website. It's TamiLindsay.com. But that's TamiLindsay. And no one ever spells my name right because there's so many ways to spell Tami. But so I like to connect with the angels. And now moving on, Michael, you do sessions on Zoom, and do you
I
do?
do.
Okay. I think you alluded to that, but and your specialty is actually, is there a specialty that you like to work with?
Some of the best work I've done historically has been, helping people recover from physical trauma, especially. So, and that gamut can be car accidents, wiping out, skiing, as well as post surgery. So, something a lot of people don't realize, and if you know anyone who's a surgeon, I've had one tell me directly that adhesions after surgery is the bane of their existence.
Mm.
And what that means is, say they have to go in and, it could be anything from a C-section to a hysterectomy to removing, uh, a piece of intestine, and we're just talking about the abdomen here, or someone has an appendix that needs to get removed. Anytime you go into the interior space in the body, air gets in there, and in a closed system before surgery, the fascias that surround all these organs actually secrete a substance that's somewhat like synovial fluid in the joints. So everything should be gliding on the neighborhood. And you go and get air in there, it disrupts the tissues, and now they get stuck on each other, and the organs can't protect themselves. So if your part of your colon gets adhered to either the interior abdominal wall or your hip flexor muscle, and it gets really stuck on there, the body will do things to protect the organ, and it'll totally sacrifice musculoskeletal structure. It won't let you move, like if you're a yogi person and you notice, wow, if I do a deep hip flexor stretch on my right leg, it's totally open. Do that on the left leg? And I've been doing yoga for 10 years and it will not open. And then, I come along and go, well, it's because, your kidney is stuck on the small intestines or something like that. And the body is like, organs are way high in the hierarchy of importance. We can deal, the body can go a long ways with like, I got low back pain. But the body may be giving you low back pain because it's sacrificing that because, oh, that takes strain off the kidney, because if there's strain on the kidney, the whole body is going to suffer, and at a level that is not even close to a low back pain thing. So anyway, we can. What's great about whether it's hands on or energetically, we can get those adhesions to free up from the outside.
Yeah, and I think I shared this with Christina earlier, but um, recently I had a small place on my arm, and I went to the doctor. I got three different diagnoses,
Yep.
and it was it was kind of interesting. And I was going through the quantum flow class, so I was like working on some of my limiting beliefs. And I just wanted it gone, so she cut it off. But she diagnosed it three different times, and I was like, okay. And so and I didn't believe it either time. It was like, this is not what it is. I knew that it was something else, like it was something that I needed to work on. And I was you know anyway, doctors are not always wrong, but sometimes when you get a diagnosis, I think, I think I've heard Christina say, you need to tune in and tap in to what your body needs. And, I have a health coach that calls me once a month for my health benefits. And it's only one thing that I have to work on each month, but I focus on that a little bit. So that could be, to feel better. It might be something really simple, like working with a coach, or it could also be drink more water, or it could be, spend a little time in nature. For me, I enjoy yoga and being outside, being in nature. And there are other things, earthing. And I think maybe, Christina, do you have some other ideas about, feeling good in your body?
Hmm. Yeah, well, doing this work, what I've come to like really understand is like if there is pain, tension, or anything chronic in the body, it's always indicating some sort of pattern of belief and chronic feeling that it's trying to bring to light for you. And it's, wanting to bring a greater awareness. And so I feel like, part of the healing with the body is really to be able to be present with it and also do things that help clear the body as well, like doing especially with being for me highly empathic, like clearing the body regularly is really important. And whether that be grounding or like sitting out in nature, taking a bath, those practices on a regular basis help the body also kind of clear and I feel like transmute um, what's within it as well, that even things that maybe we pick up from our environment. So those practices I have found are definitely very important for me.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And, eating for your body, like tuning in, what is it my body needs? My goal this month is to just add one more fruit and one more vegetable per day. Just you know, I've been doing it a long time, so I've done many things like walks. It's not really about pushing your body. It's about more like relaxing
Mhm.
and leaning into the natural flow of yourself, Um,
Mhm.
and it could be, you know, just taking a bubble bath or getting a massage. It could be, there's so many ways to like reset and
Mhm.
doing things you enjoy. You know, for some of us, it is physical. And we did, one of the new things that I tried in the class was the somatic shaking, uh, dance or movement that, that actually can free up energy too. And I've done a lot of breath work. Breath work is great, and
Mhm.
I highly recommend that. Um, But
Yeah, and
go ahead.
something I've noticed too about like my back, as you were saying, just kind of mentioned about like, you know, pushing yourself. I have come to find that with my back, it's like the message that I've been coming to understand when it flares up, it's like I'm pushing myself from a place of fear or insecurity, and I need to, there's a pattern in the way that I'm acting that's being drawn to my awareness. Um, and so it's like recognizing that there are different actions I could be taking where I could be relaxing or feeling more at ease and resting more and just kind of tuning more into my body to see where that pattern is so that I can be more in ease and flow and not in this like stress response and acting from that place. And that causes more tension in the body and it just kind of compounds on itself. You know, doing these other practices that help nourish the body are also like a part of healing too.
Hmm. Yeah, tuning in and listening, because at the moment that you are diagnosed with an illness, or perhaps it's the flu or, an injury, your body begins to heal. It's
Hmm.
automatic. It knows how to do it. But what I typically find is you've got resistance, or I have resistance to actually listening to what my body is telling me to do, because um, I have a tendency to want to overdo it, and but I've been taking smaller steps. It's springtime. Uh, you know, why not just sit outside and look at the flowers? And the air is beautiful. And I mean, you live in a beautiful place, Christina. So you get to go to beautiful places. And
Yeah, I'm very, yeah, it's been it's a like inspired dream, I feel like, of mine that to live out where I live in Lake Tahoe, like the High Sierra of Northern California. And I think it actually is like soothing to my soul because the nature here, I'm so connected to it that like I feel drawn to be in it regularly, and it does help give my body, I feel like, more of that sense of ease. Um, Being in a place that has all this nature around me that feels very grounding and soothing for me.
yeah. And Michael, Colorado's very beautiful too.
It is, and I can't quite see out of my bedroom window, but when I walk out my front door and look to the right, there's the Rockies start right there.
Oh my goodness.
So it's pretty amazing.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah. And I travel. I mean, Georgia's got a different kind of beauty. We've got the trees. Where I live, it's not, it's flat, but we do have the mountain and the ocean not that far, you know,
Mhm.
and so every part of the country is beautiful. And we have walking trails, and you can bike ride. There's things you can do here, enjoying that. You can sit outside and have a picnic. And anyway, there's enjoyable things you can do no matter where you live. And so I encourage people, to spend as much time as you can out there. And I've worked with a lot of people who've like transitioned from their work into retirement too. And that's another big shift. Like when you leave your work behind, um, you do have time to play, but often people struggle with what they're going to do next. What am I going to do next? And and I'm like, oh, you've got all this time and you can do it. So traveling is one thing that I like to do. Um, and playing, play with my friends. I like to go to retreats. I think getting away from your home is also valuable at times, to learn new things and new cultures or maybe new tools. Um,
Change environment is good too. Get out of routine, trying something new.
right, and connection. I feel like um, we spend a lot of time on our computers, or I know I do. We spend a lot of time maybe doing things that are not necessarily making you happy. And so maybe it's letting go of one thing You know, maybe spending an hour with not on the computer a day is actually good. You know, so I really focus on like small steps to feeling better,
Mm-hmm.
um, and learning new things. You know, like when I retired, one of the things I did, I took a lot of art classes and painted a lot, and I enjoy that. And so it's finding things that you enjoy doing that de-stress you. And it might be spiritual work because, we're in a spiritual community, but I love learning spiritual things. And, but you don't always have to be a student. You can sit back and relax sometimes.
Yeah, and I think, community and connection is really important too.
Yeah.
Like us getting on this call together and like having the connection with others is I think an important part of well-being as well.
Yeah. I mean, it might be going out to eat with friends or having people over or meeting people where you're at, spending a little time with people that are like you, who enjoy the things you like to do. Because, talking and chatting and um, just being seen and heard. I think a lot of people that, they tend to isolate when they have an illness instead of reaching out and engaging. And so that's a powerful practice. It really is.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I would agree.
Me too.
Well, um, let's see what else. Do you want to do like a little short meditation to end with? I guess I can lead it. And I really, let's see. Yeah, well, I will do a little light language, but let's just feel ourselves. The three of us connect. There's power in the number three. So you've got three powerful energy healers too. So in deep gratitude and appreciation for all the work you do in service to others, I ask and intend for anyone who feels the need to reach out and they need help to contact Christina or Michael or me. Um, I will call in Archangel Metatron and Michael and Raphael. Sense, see, or feel the energy of green in your heart, the energy of purple above your head, above your crown, and the energy of brown at your feet or a golden amber color, your connection to earth. Aniki turu oshana lakata uru o shu 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 shu. Trust in your intuition and guidance to lead you to the perfect place for energy healing. Think of one thing that you need to let go of, one fear, and release it out into the universe to transmute. Feel the presence of three powerful angels swirling and surrounding, standing at your back, standing on your side, and above you. I clear, cancel, and delete anything I need to let go of. I relax when I need to relax. I take action when I need to take action. I trust in the flow of light in my body, mind, spirit, in the astral realm, all the way to my feet in the earth. I am centered in the now moment and know my body heals in the perfect time, in the perfect way. And so it is. Amen.
So it is.
Amen.